Motivation is one of the most misunderstood forces in the pursuit of success. People chase it like it's the secret ingredient to greatness, believing that if they can just stay motivated, they'll finally break through. But the truth is, motivation is temporary. It's fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you wake up inspired, ready to take on the world, and the next day you can barely drag yourself out of bed. Relying on motivation is like trying to sail a ship with the wind. You move only when conditions are perfect, and success doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Success is built in the storms, in the chaos, in the moments when you least feel like showing up. That's why discipline is permanent. Discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady when motivation disappears. Think about the last time you felt motivated. Maybe it was after watching a powerful video, hearing a speech, or imagining a better version of yourself. You felt unstoppable. But how long did that feeling last? An hour? A day? Maybe a week? Then life hit you, stress, fatigue, self-doubt, distractions, and the motivation faded. That's where most people quit. They say, I'll start again when I feel motivated. They wait for that spark to come back, not realizing that while they're waiting, their opportunities are slipping away. Motivation is a visitor. It shows up when it wants, and it never stays long. But discipline is a resident. It doesn't leave. It doesn't depend on how you feel. It's there every morning, every night, every single day. When you commit to discipline, you take feelings out of the equation. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like it today? You tell yourself, this is what needs to be done, and I'm doing it. That shift in mindset is what separates achievers from dreamers. Dreamers wait for motivation. Achievers build discipline. It's the reason why some people go to the gym even when it's raining, even when they're tired, even when nobody would blame them for skipping. It's the reason why writers sit at their desks and write, even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. It's the reason why entrepreneurs keep building, even after countless failures. They know that discipline produces results long after motivation has vanished. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who are the most motivated. They are the ones who are the most disciplined. They understand that motivation might light the match, but discipline keeps the fire burning. Motivation might get you started, but it won't carry you across the finish line. Only discipline can do that. Discipline is what turns effort into habit and habit into character. It is the difference between working hard for a week and working hard for years. It is the difference between people who talk about their goals and people who actually achieve them. Ask yourself right now, are you relying on motivation or are you building discipline? If you're waiting to feel motivated before you act, you will spend your life starting and stopping, beginning and quitting, living in cycles of excitement and disappointment. But if you commit to discipline, you don't need to wait for the right mood, the right time, or the right circumstance. You create progress regardless. You move forward even when the road is uphill. You take control instead of leaving your future in the hands of a fleeting emotion. Discipline is permanent because it's a choice, and choices become habits when repeated consistently. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your willpower. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, you sharpen your focus. Each time you choose discipline over motivation, you remind yourself that success is not about what you feel, it's about what you do. And what you do consistently, day after day, is what shapes your destiny. Discipline is a decision, not a feeling. Too often, people confuse the two. They believe they need to feel ready before they act, as if emotions are the permission slip for progress. But waiting to feel ready is one of the greatest traps you can fall into. Feelings are unreliable. They fluctuate with circumstances, with mood, with the weather, even with what you ate for breakfast. If your progress depends on how you feel, your results will always be inconsistent. Success is not built on emotions, it's built on choices. And discipline is the choice to act, no matter what you feel. When you wake up in the morning, you rarely feel like working hard. You don't always feel like exercising, like studying, like putting in hours toward your goals. But discipline isn't about feelings, it's about commitments. It's about keeping promises to yourself, even when your emotions are trying to talk you out of it. Every time you choose to do what's necessary instead of what's convenient, you reinforce that you are in control of your life. You stop being a prisoner of your feelings and start becoming the master of your destiny. Think about the most difficult challenges you've overcome. Chances are you didn't feel like facing them at the time. You didn't feel like sacrificing sleep to study for that exam. You didn't feel like grinding through long hours at work to build something meaningful. You didn't feel like pushing through the pain when you wanted to quit, but you did it anyway? That wasn't motivation. That was discipline. Discipline is what carried you through the moments when your feelings would have left you stuck. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel good. Discipline says, I'll do it because it needs to be done. That's the difference. Discipline is a conscious decision, one that does not negotiate with emotions. It's a decision that says, no matter how I feel today, I will take the actions that bring me closer to my goals. That mindset is the key to consistency. It's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Because when you make decisions based on feelings, your progress stops every time your emotions shift. But when you make decisions based on discipline, you keep moving forward, steady, relentless, unstoppable. There's incredible freedom in choosing discipline over feelings. At first, it feels restrictive, like rules, like sacrifice, like saying no to comfort. But over time, discipline liberates you. It frees you from the constant push and pull of emotions. It gives you power over procrastination, over doubt, over laziness. Discipline creates stability in a world that's constantly pulling your attention in every direction. It allows you to act with intention instead of reaction. That's why disciplined people achieve more, not because they always feel like it, but because they've trained themselves to act regardless. Success is built on thousands of small, disciplined decisions. Waking up when the alarm goes off instead of hitting snooze. Choosing to focus on your work instead of scrolling your phone. Practicing your craft even when nobody's watching. Each decision may feel small, but they stack up. They compound. And over time, they create a gap so wide between the disciplined and the undisciplined that it becomes impossible to ignore. That's why discipline is the true separator. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the daily decision to do what's necessary, whether you feel like it or not. So, the next time your feelings try to convince you to quit, remind yourself of this truth. You are not your emotions. You are not your doubts, your fatigue, or your excuses. You are the sum of your decisions. And when you choose discipline, you choose progress. When you choose discipline, you choose growth. When you choose discipline, you choose to rise above the limitations of feelings and move toward the life you know you deserve. Every champion you've ever admired, every individual who reached the peak of their field, every person who turned a dream into reality, they all have one thing in common. It's not luck. It's not constant motivation. It's not even extraordinary talent. It's discipline. Champions are not built in moments of applause or recognition. They are built in silence, in solitude, in the long hours of work that no one else sees. Behind every gold medal, every world record, every billion-dollar company, there are countless days of repetition, sacrifice, and commitment. Discipline is the foundation on which every champion stands. Motivation might get someone to show up to the gym the first day, but it's discipline that gets them to return day after day, year after year, long after the excitement fades. Motivation might inspire someone to start a business, but it's discipline that pushes them through the setbacks, the sleepless nights, and the failures that come before success. Motivation might ignite a dream, but discipline builds it, brick by brick, choice by choice. The difference between someone who starts strong and someone who finishes strong is always discipline. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. Do you think they're always motivated to train? Do you think they wake up every morning feeling excited to push their bodies to the limit? Absolutely not. There are days when they don't feel like lacing up their shoes, when the weight feels heavier than usual, when their minds beg them to take a break. But champions don't rely on how they feel. They rely on their discipline. They follow the plan. They stick to the schedule. They honor the commitment. And because of that, they rise above everyone who quit when motivation faded. The same is true in business, in arts, in education, in every area of life. Champions are not fueled by bursts of inspiration. They are fueled by consistency. They understand that progress is not about doing something once with intensity. but doing it daily with discipline. That's how skills are mastered. That's how empires are built. That's how legacies are created. The student who studies every day, even for an hour, outperforms the one who crams only when motivated. The musician who practices consistently, even on the days inspiration is absent, surpasses the one who waits for creativity to strike. The entrepreneur who shows up to solve problems relentlessly outlasts the one who only acts when excited. Discipline turns ordinary people into extraordinary performers. What makes discipline so powerful is that it builds resilience. Champions know that setbacks are inevitable. They know that failure is part of the journey, but because they are disciplined, they keep moving forward. Discipline allows them to keep showing up when motivation has left the room. It keeps them practicing when no one is cheering. It keeps them preparing when no one believes. It keeps them standing tall when life tries to knock them down. Champions are not built by circumstances. They are built by choices, and their choice is always discipline. Ask yourself this: what separates the champion from the runner-up, the achiever from the dreamer, the doer from the talker? It isn't talent alone. Plenty of talented people waste their potential because they lack discipline. It isn't motivation alone. Plenty of motivated people start strong but quit when it gets hard. The separator is discipline, the ability to do the work, to honor the commitment, to push forward regardless of the mood, regardless of the situation. That's why every champion, without exception, is built on discipline. If you want to win in your own life, you must build the same foundation. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel motivated. Start building discipline now. Show up when it's hard. Push forward when it's uncomfortable. Do it again and again until consistency becomes your strength. Because when you develop discipline, you carry within you the very trait that built every champion who ever stood on top of the world. Your future is not created in the moments when the spotlight is on you. It is not built on the stage under the applause or in the moments of recognition. Your future is built in the unseen hours, the hours when nobody is watching, nobody is clapping, and nobody is keeping score. These are the hours that define who you are and who you will become. Most people want success when the world is watching, but few are willing to put in the work when it feels invisible. Champions, leaders, and high achievers understand this truth. It is the work done in silence that speaks the loudest when the results finally appear. The unseen hours are the early mornings when you rise before the sun to train, to read, to work on your craft while the rest of the world is still asleep. They are the late nights when you push yourself to finish, to polish, to refine, while others have already given in to comfort. They are the countless repetitions, the endless practice, the sacrifices that no one else sees. And while others rely on motivation to carry them forward, it is discipline in those hidden hours that builds the habits, the skills, and the mindset that create lasting success. Think about the athlete who performs flawlessly on the field. What you see is only the tip of the iceberg. Behind that single performance are years of unseen drills, lonely training sessions, sore muscles, and sacrifices made when nobody was paying attention. Think about the entrepreneur who suddenly makes it big. What you don't see are the endless nights of planning, the rejected pitches, the failures, the persistence when nobody believed. Success always looks glamorous on the outside, but what fuels it is the invisible grind. The truth is, the unseen hours test you in ways the spotlight never can. When no one is watching, it's easy to cut corners. It's easy to quit early, to say, that's good enough. But discipline demands more. Discipline is the voice that says, do one more rep, write one more page, make one more call. It's in those extra moments, those hidden decisions, that your future is forged. When you show up for yourself in private, you prepare yourself to show up for the world in public. The results others will one day admire are being written right now in the silence of your unseen hours. It's tempting to seek recognition, to want the world to notice your effort. But the truth is, recognition comes later, much later. First, you must pay the price in obscurity. You must embrace the grind without applause. You must be willing to walk the path alone, trusting that your effort will one day bear fruit. This is where most people quit. They crave instant validation, and when they don't get it, they stop. But those who endure the silence, Those who stay disciplined in the unseen hours eventually stand in the spotlight with results that cannot be denied. Ask yourself, what are you doing when nobody is watching? Are you cutting corners, or are you pushing yourself to your true potential? Are you waiting for recognition, or are you building your future in silence? The honest answer to those questions will tell you everything about where you are headed. Because the truth is, your future is not waiting to be handed to you. It is being shaped right now by the choices you make when no one else knows about them. So commit to the unseen hours. Commit to working in silence, to grinding when it feels invisible, to building yourself when nobody is watching. Trust that discipline in these moments will one day turn into visible success. Because while others are waiting for the applause to begin, you'll already be writing the performance of a lifetime. And when the spotlight finally finds you, the world will call it talent. They'll call it luck. They'll call it genius. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't any of those things. It was the unseen hours. Motivation is the spark. It feels powerful, exciting, and almost unstoppable. It's the energy that makes you believe you can conquer the world. But as quickly as it arrives, it fades. Motivation can get you moving, but it can't keep you moving. That is where discipline steps in. Discipline is the fuel that sustains you long after the fire of motivation has burned out. If motivation is the reason you start, discipline is the reason you finish. The people who achieve lasting success in life are not the ones who simply start strong. They are the ones who sustain their effort with discipline day after day, long after the excitement disappears. Think about how many times you've started something with high motivation. Maybe it was a fitness program, a new project, a business idea, or even a commitment to read more books. At the beginning, you were excited. You told yourself, this time will be different. For a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you were consistent. But eventually, the feeling that pushed you to start faded. You didn't feel like going to the gym anymore. You didn't feel like waking up early. You didn't feel like putting in the extra hours. And because the motivation was gone, so was your progress. That's the trap so many fall into. They rely on motivation to carry them through, and when it disappears, they stop. But discipline is different. Discipline doesn't depend on your feelings. It doesn't require you to be in the mood. It's the quiet force that says, do it anyway. Discipline sustains effort when motivation has run dry. It takes over when the excitement is gone and the real work begins. That's why disciplined people accomplish more. They don't stop when it gets hard. They don't quit when the feeling fades. They keep moving forward because their commitment is stronger than their emotions. Look at anyone who has achieved something remarkable. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, every single one of them started with motivation, but every single one of them sustained their journey with discipline. The runner may feel motivated on race day, but it's discipline that gets them through thousands of lonely miles of training. The musician may feel inspired on stage, but it's discipline that makes them practice scales over and over until their fingers bleed. The entrepreneur may feel energized when pitching their vision, but it's discipline that keeps them going through rejection after rejection. Motivation started their journey, but discipline sustained it. The truth is, motivation is easy. Anyone can get excited about a dream. Anyone can feel pumped up after a speech or inspired after a video. But discipline is rare. Discipline requires you to take action without excitement. It requires you to get up early when no one else is awake. It requires you to keep pushing when no one is clapping. It requires you to stay consistent when the reward feels far away. And that's why discipline sustains progress when motivation dies out. Ask yourself right now, how many things have you started but never finished because you relied on motivation? How many times have you waited to feel ready instead of choosing to be disciplined? If you want lasting success, you have to stop relying on the spark and start building the fire. Discipline is the fire that never goes out. It doesn't flicker with mood swings or emotions. It burns because you've made the decision to keep it alive. So the next time you feel motivated, use that energy to start. Let it give you the push you need to take the first step, but don't expect it to carry you all the way. When the excitement fades, lean on your discipline. Build habits that keep you consistent. Make choices that honor your commitment and remind yourself that success isn't about how strong you started, it's about how long you sustained. Motivation may give birth to your dream, but discipline is what will raise it to life. Most people think discipline is about restriction, about limiting yourself, about living a life of rules and sacrifice. They look at discipline and see it as something that takes freedom away. But the truth is the opposite. Discipline creates freedom. It is the disciplined person, not the undisciplined, who actually lives with more choices, more control, and more opportunity. Discipline may feel like sacrifice in the moment, but over time it delivers the very thing everyone is chasing: freedom of time, freedom of health, freedom of mind, and freedom of success. Think about it. The person who is disciplined with their health, who eats well, trains consistently, and takes care of their body enjoys the freedom of energy, the freedom of strength, the freedom to live without preventable disease weighing them down. The person who lacks discipline, who indulges in every craving and avoids the hard work, may feel free in the moment, but in the long run, they are trapped by poor health, low energy, and regret. The undisciplined choice gives short-term pleasure, but steals long-term freedom. It's the same with money. The disciplined person who saves, invests, and spends wisely gains the freedom to live without debt, to make choices without fear, to enjoy opportunities without financial chains. The undisciplined spender may enjoy the thrill of instant gratification, but they trade away their future. They live under pressure, under stress, under the weight of financial insecurity. Discipline may feel hard in the short term, but it buys the kind of freedom money alone cannot guarantee peace of mind. Discipline also creates freedom in how you use your time. Someone who is disciplined with their schedule, who plans, who prioritizes, who avoids wasting hours on distractions, builds a life of choice. They create space for the things that matter most: family, purpose, growth, adventure. On the other hand, the undisciplined person who gives in to every distraction, who procrastinates, who wastes precious hours scrolling, will always feel trapped. They'll say, "I don't have time," when in reality, time was lost to a lack of discipline. Here's the paradox. What looks like restriction today leads to expansion tomorrow. Waking up early may feel like sacrifice, but it gives you the freedom of a head start. Saying no to distractions may feel tough, but it gives you the freedom to focus on what truly matters. Training your mind and body may feel demanding, but it gives you the freedom to perform at your best in every area of life. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and the freedom you want. Look at the people you admire, the ones who live life on their terms, who travel where they want, work when they want, do what they want. Behind their freedom is not luck, it's discipline. It's years of consistent choices that others weren't willing to make. It's sacrifices that turned into opportunities. It's habits that turned into strength. What looks effortless today was built on discipline yesterday. So, the next time you feel like discipline is robbing you of freedom, remember this truth: lack of discipline is the real thief. It robs you of health, energy, money, time, and potential. Discipline may feel heavy in the moment, but it pays you back with the freedom to live life on your terms. The undisciplined person is a prisoner of their impulses. The disciplined person is the master of their future. Discipline creates freedom because it puts you in control. Control of your choices, control of your direction, control of your destiny. And when you have that control, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You become the author of your own story. Intensity gets attention, but consistency gets results. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can push themselves for a week. Anyone can ride the wave of excitement when motivation is high, but the people who achieve extraordinary success are not the ones who give everything for a short burst and then burn out. They are the ones who show up day after day with discipline, even when it's not glamorous, even when it's not exciting, even when nobody is watching. Consistency beats intensity because greatness is not built in single moments of effort. It's built in the accumulation of steady action over time. Think about fitness. Someone might go to the gym and train intensely for 4 hours in one day. They push themselves to the limit. They feel exhausted, and they walk out thinking they've made massive progress. but then they don't return for weeks. Contrast that with the person who trains for just 1 hour, 5 days a week. Their sessions may not look as extreme, but over time, they build strength, endurance, and lasting results. Intensity creates a story for the day, but consistency creates transformation for a lifetime. The same is true in learning. You don't master a language, an instrument, or a skill by practicing once in a while with bursts of effort. You master it by showing up every day, even if only for a short time. A musician who practices 20 minutes daily will outperform someone who practices 3 hours once a week. Why? Because consistency keeps the momentum alive. It allows growth to compound. Intensity fades quickly, but consistency builds habits, and habits build mastery. Consistency is powerful because it compounds over time. Each small action builds on the last. Each disciplined choice strengthens the foundation for the next one. On its own, a single workout, a single study session, or a single disciplined act may not seem like much, but stack them together, and over months and years, they create results that look almost impossible to those who relied only on intensity. It's the compound effect of small, consistent actions that separates the average from the exceptional. Intensity often comes from emotion, motivation, excitement, inspiration, but as soon as those emotions fade, intensity fades with it. Consistency, however, comes from discipline. It doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? It simply says, this is what I do. That mindset transforms actions into identity. You stop being someone who occasionally tries, and you become someone who always shows up. That shift is what makes consistency unbeatable. Even in business and personal growth, the same truth applies. The entrepreneur who shows up every day to improve their business, even with small steps, will always outperform the one who takes massive action once in a while and then disappears. The writer who writes 1 page a day will finish a book in a year. The one who waits for bursts of inspiration may never finish at all. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not loud. It doesn't grab headlines, but it quietly, relentlessly builds success that cannot be ignored. Ask yourself, are you chasing intensity or are you building consistency? Do you burn bright for a short time and then fade? Or do you show up with steady discipline, even when it feels boring, even when nobody notices? The world remembers the consistent, not the intense, because consistency is proof of character. It shows reliability, resilience, and commitment. If you want to win, stop chasing bursts of intensity and start embracing the power of consistency. Show up daily. Do the work. Keep building, little by little, brick by brick, because in the end, it won TB, the person who worked the hardest for 1 day. Who wins it will be the one who never stopped working, day after day, year after year. Intensity may spark the flame, but consistency keeps the fire alive until it lights the world. Discipline makes you unstoppable. Not talent, not luck, not bursts of motivation. Discipline is the force that allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. When you are disciplined, you no longer depend on moods, circumstances, or external validation to take action. You create your own momentum. You move forward no matter what is happening around you. That is what makes you unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, steadier, and more relentless with every disciplined step you take. Think about the people who never seem to quit, the ones who keep moving forward even when everything is stacked against them. They don't have a secret reservoir of motivation that nobody else has. They have discipline. They've trained themselves to act regardless of how they feel. They wake up early even when they're tired. They stay focused even when they're tempted. They keep pushing even when failure knocks them down. And because they refuse to stop, they eventually break through. That is the power of discipline. It transforms you into a person who cannot be derailed. Life will always test you. There will be obstacles, setbacks, criticism, and doubt. Motivation will not be enough to carry you through those storms. Motivation fades when you're exhausted, when you're discouraged, when progress feels slow. But discipline doesn't fade. Discipline says, get up anyway, Keep going anyway. Show up anyway. That's why disciplined people outlast everyone else. They may not always move the fastest, but they never stop moving. And that consistency, that refusal to quit, makes them unstoppable. The truth is, discipline builds resilience. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your ability to endure. You prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Over time, that resilience becomes unshakable confidence. You stop doubting whether you can handle challenges because you've faced them before and kept moving. You stop questioning whether you have what it takes because your actions prove that you do. With discipline, you become someone who is not easily broken, not easily distracted, and not easily defeated. Look at the greatest achievements in history: athletes breaking world records, entrepreneurs building empires, leaders changing the course of nations. Behind every one of those achievements is a person who refused to stop, not because they were always motivated, but because they were always disciplined. They kept practicing when no one believed. They kept working when no one was watching. They kept building when others gave up. Their discipline made them unstoppable, and that's why their names are remembered. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you became unstoppable? What dreams would you chase if you knew nothing could break your commitment? What goals would you achieve if you stopped waiting for motivation and leaned fully on discipline? The truth is, the only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is your willingness to be disciplined every single day. Discipline makes you unstoppable because it removes the option of quitting. It leaves no room for excuses. It trains your mind to keep moving forward, step by step, until you arrive at your goal. And once you've built that mindset, nothing outside of you can hold you back. Not failure, not fear, not fatigue. You may bend, but you will not break. You may slow down, but you will not stop. Discipline is the armor that protects your vision, the engine that powers your progress, and the shield that defends your dreams. So decide today to build discipline. Decide that no matter how you feel, no matter what happens, you will show up. Because when you live with that kind of discipline, you don't just become successful, you become unstoppable. And unstoppable people don't just reach their goals, they surpass them. They inspire others. They change lives. Discipline is not just a habit. Discipline is your superpower.